Hello and warm welcome on SAP on Azure episode 144. Today is May 19th, and today with Robert and Holger, we are here to talk everything and anything about the SAP on Azure. Hello. So Azure monitoring for or Azure Monitor for SAP Solution, it's a product. It's not a news. We already had a summary in our episode. Very important product, can monitor the SAP application databases, clustering, operating system, and Azure infrastructure in an end-to-end way. Just recently, we had an announcement of the GA, and today we are lucky to have Sujay and Akarsh to tell us really more about those details. But before we go deep dive in the topic about the Azure monitoring for SAP Solutions, as always, let's go about the news. What happened last week? And to be honest, there is an explosion of the news simply because it was a Sapphire, or this week was a Sapphire. Holger was there. And Microsoft did a lot of announcement. Also, there's a huge announcement, joint announcement with the SAP and Microsoft. Holger did an excellent LinkedIn post, really an excellent LinkedIn post, and I will just use it because it's really excellent summarize. Day first was a kickoff with the Christian Klein, and the Satya Nadella was there was a recording about Satya Nadella and joint conversation and about the importance of the generative AI and GPT, and also about the there's a announcement of a joint venture between the Microsoft or extended collaboration in this area, especially in the process in the area like SAP success factors and Viva Learning and the Copilot. So these are the kind of summary about that. The success factor will be integrated with Microsoft 365 Copilot and Copilot for Microsoft Viva Learning, as well as the Microsoft OpenAI services in these some processes like recruiting, learning, and so on. There is also a SAP product called SAP S/4HANA Cloud. It's an SAP SaaS offering. So again, because a lot of stuff with the customer rotates around the UI, and many customers are using the Teams, for example. So there will be there are scenarios which are showing about the integration with the Microsoft team and Microsoft 365 collaboration software. As well, there is another part was really an interesting in this area about the demo was a part from the in the area of the S/4HANA Cloud implementation. Also, not just with the Teams, but there is also the whole story about the single sign-on and the Azure Active Directory integration, which basically enables us end-to-end single sign-on experience. There are some also, there was on the second day, there was Thomas Sauertig and Jürgen Miller. And they actually also talk about generative AI. There was some demo. I mean, we still don't have a video of this. I was not there, but I'm pretty sure Holger will tell us. Obviously, it seems that I see in the background there is a Teams integration, and definitely I see here he was asking some questions. So it must be the GPT there. Holger will tell us a bit more. On the stage was also the Matthew Ordish. He was talking about the transforming the business and modernizing of SAP landscape in the Microsoft Cloud, and talk about many combination use cases about between the SAP and Microsoft. Booth was very well organized with the many partners. There is also, in the meantime, public use case about the Unilever migration to the Azure. I mean, there was a separate, also SAP had it with the Unilever them on stage, but in a parallel, there's also the business use case of the Unilever in the Azure, which they migrated in 18 months. The Accenture was the partner. Then there is again a huge amount of another Microsoft announcement and a GA of the different products. One example is the Microsoft Azure Center for SAP Solutions. So we talked about this product in the past. It was in a public preview. Now it reached the GA. And it enables us that SAP becomes actually a first-class citizen in the Azure portal as well. So meaning if we are not just able to see the infrastructure, but also to understand the SAP and how SAP system and SAP instances are related to the Azure, and to manage it. So there are some news and there are some also additional functionality as an example. So basically, you can register the ABAP systems, either Windows or Linux running on Azure. You can also search the entire SAP estate with the Azure Resource Graph. We had the functionality to stop the complete SAP system. Now you can even stop the individual instances. HANA DB, it's also from a database reporting and starting and stop, including the clustering as well. There is also again, Azure Monitor for SAP. There's also integration. We'll talk now a bit more. Azure Cost Management and Billing is also there. Basically, you would be also able to monitor or to get those reports per sit as well, which is really great stuff, and then break it down on the underlying parts. Super useful, very, very quality checks through Azure Advisor. It will check for the really hundreds of quality checks and best practices. Extremely important. I mean, those quality checks or the best practices are really huge in number. It's an extreme challenge for the customers and partners to follow up with all of them. They're continuously changing. So basically, you have out of the box this functionality, which really telling you this is right and wrong, because I've seen many of problems and challenges are actually, most of them are coming from the fact that some of those best practices are not implemented. There is also there is a possibility as well, not just to manage it, but also there's a deployment ability to deploy the S/4HANA system from the ACSS as well in an HA fashion. You can also customize the disk layout, and names of the Azure resources, always important for the customer and partners. In parallel, there's another product for the automated deployment of the SAP called SAP Deployment Automation Framework, which can do more. And this framework is also basically integrated with the ACSS, where you can register the system in the ACSS. There's also a new visual representation when you here. Visual or architecture visualization when you want to create an SAP system. Really nice. I mean, we're all the visual guys, and many more. Another part, again, we will go now more deep dive. I mean, who is the guy? The Sujay wrote a blog about the deep dive. I will not spend much time here, simply because we will cover soon all the details. And here wrote basically also an overview of the whole of many other news as well, basically where he mentioned also the Unilever. He mentioned also the Hilti migration in the context of the RISE. So RISE was also one of the super important topics here. He mentioned also some other news on the infrastructure side, for example, the coming MV3 SKUs on the new fourth generation of the Intel processor. The whole stuff is built on a quite new, very reliable and stable infrastructure, much more improved resiliency, basically through the common failures in memory and storage and networking, which is a super important feature for the business critical application like the SAP. Also, there is updates on MV2 as well. I just forget to mention. I mean, there are huge amount of those news, but also the MV3 will be able to, from a memory perspective, important for the HANA scale, go from 1 terabyte to 24 terabyte and basically beyond. On the MV2, there is also ability to have not just the 4 terabyte or 12 terabyte, but also the in-between of 8 terabyte version as well. Again, here he mentioned the Azure Center for SAP Solution, Azure Monitoring for SAP Solution, Azure Center for SAP Solution and Frameworks again, and Sentinel as well, the new features which are kind of published, parts of the Power integration as well. We mentioned in the past Microsoft AI SDK for SAP. Holger was also telling, and also those SAP and Microsoft co-innovation announcements. Huge amount of really details, but I spent quite a lot of time and don't want to eat the time from our guest. So let's switch to the main topic of this talk, which is the Azure Monitoring for SAP Solution. Sujay, maybe we can start with you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us basically what is your role and what are you doing in Microsoft?
Sure, Gaurang. First of all, thanks a lot for having us today. I am Sujay Jain. I am Senior Product Manager in SAPonAzure team. And my focus currently is to simplify SAP management and monitoring experiences to help our customers seamlessly run their SAP workloads on Azure. I have my colleague Akarsh as well. Akarsh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I am Akarsh Prabhu, Product Manager at Microsoft Azure. I work on easing the process of troubleshooting workload issues for SAP on Azure customers. And to do this, I co-lead the Insights capability in the Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions, which you'll hear about soon and also see a demo for in this episode. And great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So Azure Monitor for SAP Solution reached the GA, right, with some interesting, cool stuff. So I'm really eager to hear more from you. You know, what do we have it and what we can do there?
Yeah, absolutely, Gaurang. So my colleague Sami Khare, she has been part of these podcasts before, and she has provided updates around the private preview and public preview of Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions, or as we call it or know it by AMS. And I'm today super thrilled to talk about the general availability launch that has happened recently and the new capabilities that we have been introducing as part of GA launch. Today, we will give a quick refresher of what AMS is all about, how we started AMS, very high level architecture, and then some of the new capabilities that we have introduced as part of GA launch. So let me share my screen first. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so when we think about an SAP workload or SAP platform, first of all, we all know that SAP is a complex system. And it takes a lot of time for companies and customers and partners to manage their SAP systems, be it on-premise or cloud. The typical challenges that they will see with their monitoring solutions is they have to use multiple monitoring solutions to monitor different layers of SAP platform, be it at the application layer, the database, or the underlying infrastructure. So these monitoring solutions actually are very disconnected in nature. The cost of setting up these monitoring solutions is also on very high side. It takes a lot of time to configure them. A lot of time is taken to maintain them as well, and then the teams who are actually monitoring and configuring these systems, they are spending more time maintaining these systems rather than working on improving the performance of their SAP landscape. So it involves a lot of high cost of maintaining these monitoring solutions, and then time spent to find the root causes of the problems. Again, as we said, there are different monitoring solutions, there are different teams sometimes who are involved in doing the root causes at different layers. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to find the root cause of the problem and where exactly the problem is. And whenever we were talking to all our SAP on Azure customers, these problems were discussed and coming up time and again. And that's where we came up with Azure Monitor for SAP solution. When we started AMS, our goal was pretty simple. We wanted a monitoring solution which was very easy and have a seamless setup experience where we can monitor different platform layers of SAP at one place, including infrastructure. And then this monitoring solution should give us all the flexibility in terms of ad hoc data analysis, custom visualizations, and other key capabilities to do ad hoc data analysis. And with AMS, we have been able to achieve that. Right now, with AMS, you can very easily set up AMS. You can use the automation solutions that we already have. You can use CLI or you can use PowerShell to set things up. Setting up AMS takes minutes instead of hours, days, and weeks. So it's a very similar, very simple experiences. We have very key or customized set of alert templates so that you don't have like alert storms in case of multiple alerts being configured. So they are curated, predefined alert templates that you can use. We also have all the compliances in place in terms of outbound internet access restrictions. So we have different ways to collect data in case of all these hard security or networking policies. So we are adhering to those policies as well. Again, with the architecture that we have, it's pretty flexible in nature. So it allows us to pull data from multiple layers, store it at one place, and then our custom visualizations help us look at all the data in the context where we want it to be. Uh, with that, I'll quickly touch upon the architecture. Again, it's a very high level architecture. Here you can see AMS has largely two set of pieces, two parts. Here we have managed resource group, which is called as monitor. And then we have set of uh, functions or the piece of code which is called as provider. Monitor acts as a brain of the system, and then providers are responsible for pulling data from these different layers. As you can see, we have coverage for different layers here. We are having providers for SAP NetWeaver. In databases, we have HANA, SQL Server, IBM DB2 support. And then from infrastructure point of view, we can pull data from high availability pacemaker clusters and Linux operating system as well.
Yeah. So Jay, I can't, maybe you will mention it, but basically I remember from the first version of the AMS, actually, there were no Azure function. There was some kind of VM which needs to be up and running, used to be collected, single point of failure, high availability solution. So yeah, this is a kind of Azure function, native pass, native HA there, much simpler way to set it. From a technology perspective, there is a change, right, and improvement here. Yeah,
and absolutely, Goran, and that's where I was coming to. Bringing in Azure functions actually helped us overcome all the problems that we had in past version of AMS. Again, as you said, we don't really need to, or customers don't really need to be in the business of maintaining the life cycle of that virtual machine.
Yeah.
Scaling has become really easy. Azure Monitor automatically scales based on number of sets or SAP systems you set up to monitor AMS. In fact, with current architecture that we have, with a single AMS instance, you can monitor up to 400 SAP systems as well. So that's the kind of scale we have reached to. And then with the kind of reliability that we get with the PaaS solution, again, it's a very turnkey solution. So customers really don't need to do anything. Once this AMS solution is set up, they are in business. They can start monitoring their resources. And again, we are not really building anything from scratch. We are using the goodness of all the components which are already existing as part of, say, Azure Monitor or the first party services which are already existing. So you have log analytics, which is helping you or customers retain data for as long as much time as possible. We have ability to do ad hoc data analysis, ability to create custom alerts based on logics that customers would like to choose. We have key vaults to securely keep the secrets for our providers to pull data from these SAP systems. And then storage queue helps us keeping the operational telemetry or how the health of our AMS solution is. So again, this acts as a brain, and then Azure Function, it acts as an orchestrator. Azure Function decides or tells these providers when to pull data from which resource and at what time. So that's where, a very high level architecture, but it gives us scale, a high level reliability. And then again, we don't really need to be in a business of maintaining this solution for long. So it gives a lot of benefits to customer. And then we have these tools, which actually adds a lot of value to customers. Azure Center for SAP Solution, as we know, is a single stop shop for the SAP deployment, infrastructure creation, and then management capabilities. And AMS is a core part or integrated part of ACSS as well. So customers can start their journey from ACSS and also can come to AMS to look into details of the availability and performance of their SAP systems as well. Partners who are using Azure Lighthouse to manage multiple tenants, they can see AMS in their subscriptions as well. And then Azure Managed Grafana instance, the third-party visualization solution, which is managed by Azure. If customers are using that, they can actually consume data from AMS and then build their own dashboards as well.
Yeah. I mean, these are great highlights about the tools, both Azure Center for SAP as well as the Lighthouse, because again, partners are using, meaning partners would manage multiple other customers in a different subscription. Basically, so the Azure Lighthouse, they would see all of those system or all of those feature and monitoring data, in this case, from a single pane of glass, right?
Yeah.
And consume in an easy way. And that's I would say really a huge benefit, that integration also with the Azure Lighthouse for those management partner who are doing additional management for the SAP in this case as well, right? Yeah. So that's a great stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and then we talk about some of the key features that we have recently added, Goran, after public preview. So we have now ability to have a secure communication, a secure data at transit, so transport level security, SAP Landscape Monitor, which is a single pane of glass to learn everything about your SAP landscape, contextual SAP Insights, which is right now in preview, but it gives us great ability to correlate data, find out the RCS, and then recommendations as well for availability and performance issues. And we'll soon see the demonstrations for both the capabilities. We have also lit up IBM DB2 monitoring, as we just talked about that in architecture, and then support for zonal redundancy. If customers are looking for a very high level of reliability, AMS can be deployed in multiple availability zone in a region as well to get a higher level of redundancy as well. So yeah, these are set of some key features. Again, there has been a lot of under the hood improvement that has gone into AMS ability to test the network connectivity before you are creating a provider, editing a provider on the go instead of creating a new one. And there are tons of other under the hood improvement that have gone into this AMS GA launch. With that, I'll move to demonstration. So today we will see two demos, and I'll quickly share my screen. We'll look at SAP Landscape Monitor, and then we'll look at SAP Insights preview feature that we have recently enabled. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, works.
Yeah, and again, just to save time on all the navigations, I have loaded the experiences here, right, in this experience. So here you have an AMS instance, and in AMS instance, there are multiple providers that have been created. You can look at all those providers here. And as part of monitoring, we have enabled SAP Landscape Monitor. SAP Landscape Monitor, as I said, it's a single stop shop to know everything about your SAP systems. You can create multiple groups according to your environment type, your preferences, or importance of the SAP systems. And then you can start monitoring those groups right here in this experience. These groups are clickable. So when you click on them, the underlying navigation automatically changes or view changes to provide you details. Um, what we have done is here you can see the list of the groups. You can actually get into the next level of detail of these groups where you can see a different layer. You can see how many alerts are being raised, like these systems. If there are any alerts raised at NetWeaver level or HANA level, here you can see the NetWeaver and the databases. There are some alerts raised. And then when you click on those, you can see all those alerts in the same context where you were trying to see the data. So with this way, you will be able to quickly know where exactly the problem is and which groups I should focus on or the SAP systems I should focus on. And creating these groups is very easy. You just need to click on create and edit groups. Once you go there, you will see the list of all the SAP systems that are set up as part of AMS monitoring. You can give a group name here and then choose the SAP systems that you want to be part of, them to be part of this grouping. And then once you do that, you like if I select CS3 here now and I save it. Now in the test systems, you will start seeing the data for CS3 as well. Once we refresh this.
Super. So basically, each customer and partner can easily choose whatever they like to see it and configure it.
Yes. So as you see here, CS3 has been added as part of this group, and now you can start monitoring all the alerts for that as well.
Cool.
And again, we have a standard time range functionality, so you can go and decide what time ranges you want to see this data for. So again, we have just begun on this journey. There are more enhancements that are going to happen in this landscape monitor, but it's a really great addition, and we have gotten some really great customer feedback on this as well. Now moving on to SAP Insights preview. So we have SAP Insights, which is as I said is a preview feature. The goal of SAP Insights is to provide us the availability and performance issues, their where exactly the problem is, and the attributes which can help us figure out where the potential problem can be. So it brings in all the data from or all the relevant data or contextual data from SAP application platform and the Azure infrastructure. And we can actually look at all those details at one place. Earlier, if customers are trying to look into these problems, you would see there is a different team who is maintaining the SAP application, the basis teams. Then if they come across any unavailability scenario, they will first check at their end, and if they don't find the problem, then they will go to infrastructure teams, and then they will, there will be a lot of to and fro communication. It takes a lot of time. Yeah,
this is really great because I mean, I know also from this customer work engagement, yes, there are different teams which are operating the different layers. There's an SAP basis team, there's a database team, and there's operating team, and there's a fully Azure team. And where it's really it's challenging really to troubleshoot these kind of stuff. So I mean, when the tools can go from upwards to down and connect the dots, it is a huge value. It is honestly a huge value here. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where I was coming to, Goran. So here, if you see, like we have two tabs, one is availability and performance. And again, you can choose the time range, you can choose the SAP system for which you want to see the insights. And then like here, you see the availability problems, right? So here, for example, if I choose, say, NetWeaver instance unavailability, availability issue, this happened on, say, today at 8:52 a.m. below you can see the availability trend, like what went wrong, what was the availability trend information. And if I want to investigate this further, I can click on investigate. And what it does is it actually pulls data from multiple data sources. It goes to the process availability information. So here you can see the details about the processes, some of the key matrices related to availability. When you go to SAP platform, you can see for dispatcher the availability percentage, till what time it was available, when it went down, the error messages were there. So there are error messages as well. So people can go and troubleshoot there. And then if you want to know the infrastructure details, and this is where the magic happens, you don't really need to do 5 and 10 clicks. Here you can just see there was a dip that happened on the VM at this
Oh,
point,
great. Yeah. Okay.
right? So yeah,
So
now you
basically,
know.
if the VM was rebooted and rebooted by, okay, root cause rebooted by the user, of course the
Yes,
processor were down. So you
r-
have, yeah.
right. So now you have a like as VM availability showing up, and then you see the RCA here as well.
Mm.
Like it was rebooted by user, and then what was the occur time and resolution time. So all this data has been pulled from Azure underlying and Azure infrastructure resources. And that's where I was talking about being contextual. So now
Yes.
Now customers don't really need to remember like their SAP system name, the underlying host names. We know all of these, and then we are pulling this information on their behalf. So that saves a lot of time. Like you just
Yes.
saw, within few seconds, we can see all the details.
Yeah, honestly, it saves so much because I was involved in the past, also in the support, sometimes also involved in the escalation. These kind of stuff really saves this time that everybody knows what exactly is happening, and this is what actually the customer and partner just want to know what's going on with the underlying infrastructure as well, and how did it influence the SAP system and SAP process. So cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I am buying. So,
Yeah, so I just showed you the availability scenario. Similarly, on the performance side, again, performance becomes little difficult because there can be n number of reasons where a performance of a system can go down. So right now we have focused on the most common occurring performance scenarios, and I'm just demoing you one of the scenarios which is high response time. So many a times the response time shoots up and it actually breaches the threshold, like in this case say it's 800 millisecond. What we can do is we have a summary view of the response time, so you can see the response time here for this SAP system, and the long batch running jobs are also there, so you can see details around that as well. Once this alert gets fired and you click on investigate, now here we not just show you the availability information, but we show you the performance of SAP key matrices as well as the Azure platform metric. And here in detail, if you see this alert got fired, and at this time this was generated, and you can see the response time. Again, this is an old alert, so the response time threshold we had was below 500, above 500. So here you see the higher response time, and then you also see the constituent metric, like out of response time is constituted of multiple times, right? So you have processing time, wait time, DB time, roll wait time, and GUI as well. So now we are able to clearly say that out of this response time, processing time actually took most of the time. So that helps you understand like where you should focus your investigation on. Now, if you go to say SAP metric, here you can see the different calls that are happening, like database calls, different the processes which are using or making database calls, average time it is being taken to do calls, the process utilization, how many free work processes are there or active work processes are there. So some of the key matrices which can help you understand the response time. You can also look at the platform metrics, like how CPU utilization was at that point of time when the alert got fired, the disk IOPS or networking out. So this gives you a good information about where the potential problem can be. And then if you have integration with ACSS, and that's where we see the magic happening between both the systems, right? ACSS already has these quality checks and recommendations that they provide. So based on like if we know or we figure out like for this SAP system, if the network accelerator has not been turned on, or you are seeing some impact on the network side, you can go to configuration drift, and configuration drift will give you the recommendations or drift that have been recommended for this SAP system, so that you can get recommendations right here in this experience and then fix those.
Super.
Like that can be the potential solution
Yeah.
for these performance
Yeah.
issues.
And I see basically in the top there is an ST03 pulling, or this is the source where you're pulling the information and combining with the Azure platform metrics and
Yes.
suggesting the configuration drifts that potentially could be a cause for this performance issue. Cool. Yeah,
Right.
love it.
Right.
Love it. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this is what we are doing with availability and performance scenarios, Goran. So performance, we will continue to increase more and more or add more and more scenarios.
Mhm.
And we are extending it to not just NetWeaver, but HANA and other parts of our AMS providers as well. So that's what we are going to do. And apart from that, as I talked about secure communication, customers can easily, when they are trying to create providers, they can go add a provider and we give them option right there um, to enable the secure communication. So we support the TLS 1.2, and if you are enabling secure communication, you can either use the root certificate or you can use server certificates as well. And this gets created as part of your provider creation. So there is no further work that you need to do to secure your data transmission between source and AMS.
Great. Yeah. Super.
Yeah, so this is what we wanted to showcase today as part of demos, and quickly talk about uh, the 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 further details. So as part of GA launch, we have AMS available as part of multiple geographies. So US, Europe, Australia, and Asia are there. And soon we are going to light up AMS for other regions as well. We are getting a lot of customer demands from other regions as well. And we are going to soon work on enabling those as well. And the other great thing about AMS is there is no licensing fee.
Cool.
Customers can go today go to Azure portal and create AMS. That's the USP and something that a lot of customers like. It's only the cost of usage. It's the usage based pricing
Yeah.
that we have. So the components that are being created as part of AMS, like Azure Functions, Key Vault Storage, alerting, log analytics, it's only the cost of what you configure or set up, and there is no other licensing fee. So that's a great thing about AMS. So yeah, with that, yeah, Goran.
Yeah. Customer will love it. This.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, with that, we have published a lot of resources as well. So you can go through the announcement blog. There is overview video about and the demo video as well. So you can go through it. It talks beautifully about AMS and the key components and functionalities. You can actually go through them as well. And we have public documentation available as well. So you can just follow it and then set up AMS as your will. Yeah, with that, thanks a lot for the time today.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I have to say I'm a little bit positively shocked. I haven't tried the newest feature. So honestly, I haven't know of all of them, the newest updates. I have to say I'm really positively surprised. I mean that's always the point. So you're right. I mean, I always hear one pane of glass for everything.
Yeah.
One pane of glass for everything, and this is what I also see. I mean, AMS is kind of coming together with Azure Center for SAP Solution, Azure Backup for SAP. It's coming also, that is one part of the stuff under one pane of glass. Always super important, this management stuff of whatever we do, whatever the customer and partners do, because that's many of those previous solution of different company, including the Microsoft, are box product, where you install on certain servers, you need to patch it, servers, you need to patch the product, you need to think about the high availability, and as you mentioned, you need to spend sometimes huge amount of time to manage it, which is a really waste of resources. And here we have basically a SaaS service, which extremely helps because it's offload the whole management stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the great part, Goran, is like if you think about AMS is already very simple implementation and pretty easy to set up, but imagine how the opportunities we can unlock with ACSS, like by making our Azure SAP aware. Imagine you are registering or creating your SAP systems on Azure and ACSS knows about them. You can set up AMS in an instance, right? So then like seamless backup setup, sentinel setup. So you don't really need to look at 100 different places to do things. Azure can do everything for you. Like Azure Center for SAP Solutions. So, and then a lot of data that can actually be collaborated or being used across different solutions. I think that is going to create a very comprehensive solution.
It is, and basically, I mean, this is the one of the thing I'm really screaming all the time. The context.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you have this information, and you have the another one, and you have from this layer and from that layer. Okay, how they are kind of combined together. Give me the context of the whole stuff, and then also because the context can give you, from the context perspective, you can say, this is a RCA, basically what we estimate, and then it's clear. Then it's clear for everybody, and there is no need to talk to the different teams. You just know what's happening, and this is really I love this, because I think this is a one kind of huge differentiator and huge value for the not end to end, but just put in the context. So I really love it. Plus those new providers are basically, I'm just thinking the IBM DB2 is also kind of new one. I think there was also on the Sapphire, there was a boot as well, just showing this functionality as well for the IBM DB2. New security stuff. I mean, guys, looks really promising, really excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, partners and plus with the Lighthouse, I mean, this is again, I mean, the whole concept, it's already there, but it is integrated, which enables that there are many partners who are hosting the many other customers and want to have really their perspective of one pane of glass, so we are really good to go. So customer partners are warmly welcome to try it. I love it, guys. Really, I love it. Thank you so much for joining. And I mean, definitely, I'm counting on you in the future to have the further updates, which I'm pretty sure they will come, and the further enhancement.
Thanks a lot, Goran, for having us today. And again, very excited to bring these capabilities in front of our customers and partners. And looking forward to come back again in future with some cool stuff that we are working on.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.